I want to talk about some remarkable new information that has come out about Ryan Ruth. You might remember that name, Ryan Ruth. Kind of a weird last name, isn't it? He is a would-be assassin who plotted to kill President Trump. Now, incredibly, we're getting very little information about these assassination attempts. We don't even know a whole lot about the Butler guy, Thomas Crooks, who took those shots at Trump, and we don't know a whole lot about Ryan Ruth either. And then just yesterday, Debbie told me about this guy who apparently killed his own members of his family, and he too was plotting to kill President Trump. So all of this demands, I think, much greater public knowledge of who these people are, what their motives are, and what is it that they set out, and how and for what reason did they set out to do these dark deeds. Now, with Ryan Ruth, the new information is this, and this comes out as a result of some newly released DOJ documents, that he wasn't just trying to kind of kill Trump in the normal way, I'm going to shoot him. Rather, he was trying to buy military-grade weapons from Ukraine. And among these weapons was a shoulder-fired rocket launcher and an anti-aircraft missile. Now, what his chances are to get any of this, I don't know. But what this really means is that this guy, it seems, was thinking, I'm going to blow Trump's plane out of the sky. I'm going to have a rocket launcher or an anti-aircraft missile. I don't have to hang around and try to get in a shot at Trump. This is the best way to do. In other words, you're talking about high-grade weaponry from Ukraine. Now, we don't know a whole lot about the extent of the connections between this Ruth fellow and Ukraine. We do know that he's a partisan of Ukraine. In fact, one of his motives for going after Trump is, quote, bad for Ukraine. We also know that this guy made a video about the Azov battalion, promoting it. And this is the neo-Nazi battalion that's fighting on behalf of the Ukrainians. So this guy has his heart in Ukraine. And it looks like this is the driving force behind his actions. But here is the big and unanswered question. Yes, he was trying to buy this stuff from Ukraine. Yes, he presumably was dealing with someone in the Ukrainian military or in the Ukrainian political establishment. So we can fairly conclude that there were people in the Ukraine side of the conflict that were at least aware that this guy had this motive. He wanted to take Trump out. He's looking for the weapons to do it. But here is the bigger question. The Ukraine war, we're now realizing, has been run entirely by non-Ukrainians. And by run entirely, I mean, who are the people behind the switchboard? Who are the, if I can use an analogy, who are the air traffic controllers moving the pieces around? The answer is the United States. It's U.S. military planners. They have been, in a sense, behind the scenes because they don't want to be identified as the people running the show, just as the people running, the presidency, Joe Biden's presidency, haven't come forward and said, listen, this guy's non-compos mentis. We have been running the show. Similarly, the U.S. Figures have been calling the shots in the Ukraine war, but they have been doing it kind of behind the scenes. And yet, there's now a lot of proof that even with the targeting of these weapons against the Russians, it has been NATO and it's been the United States selecting the targets, providing the weapons, in fact, in a sense, detonating the codes that let the weaponry fly. This has been done not by the Ukrainians in the driver's seat, but the United States in the driver's seat. And this gives rise to the question I've been alluding to from the beginning of the segment, which is, what did the senior figures in the United States military-industrial complex know about Trump's would-be assassin, Ryan Ruth? Or to put it differently, if this guy wanted to buy high-grade weaponry from Ukraine and he told the Ukrainians about it, who were the people on the American side who were also presumably in the room, or more accurately, running the show? What did they know about this? In other words, is it possible, could it be that the assassination attempt against Trump was not a Ukrainian operation? Maybe it was. But what if it wasn't? What if it was actually an American operation being run out of the police agencies of government right here, working through this Ruth fellow who is a partisan for Ukraine? This would be something of the utmost seriousness, wouldn't it? Because it would be a corrupt U.S. regime, in a sense, authorizing or green-lighting a political assassination of the highest level. And if you say, oh, that's impossible, this is the United States, Dinesh, don't be so conspiratorial. Wait a second. Aren't we discussing exactly something very similar in the case of the Kennedy assassination? No one seems to consider it outside the realm of possibility that John F. Kennedy was, in fact, assassinated from the inside. There's some debate about who exactly did it. Was it the CIA? Was it the CIA working with the mafia? Was it other intelligence agencies? Was the beneficiary Lyndon Baines Johnson? All of this is open for debate, but the idea that this is a possibility can hardly be written out of court, can hardly be dismissed. And I think here, too, it's something that has to be considered, it has to be looked into. And so all of this means one would expect that with the kind of battle that Trump is now conducting against the police state, against the deep state, that these people saw it coming. They were willing to go to any lengths to prevent the dismantling, the taking down of this corrupt, wicked operation that they have set up over the years, maybe even over the decades. And so I think the question, who is Ryan Ruth and what was the full extent of what he was planning? Who knew about it? Who approved it? These questions are still demanding an answer.
For full shows, live and on demand, it's Salem News Channel.